I still remember the smell of rain that afternoon. It was the kind of soft drizzle that seems harmless at first, but hides a storm behind it. I was coming back from work earlier than usual, exhausted but relieved to finally have a free evening. The house I shared with my father and stepmother stood quietly at the end of the street, a beautiful two-story place with wooden windows and ivy crawling up the sides. It always looked peaceful from the outside. But that day, peace was only a disguise. As I parked the car, I noticed another one in the driveway, a silver sedan I didn't recognize. My first thought was that it belonged to one of my father's colleagues. He was often away on business trips, but sometimes his friends stopped by to drop off documents or have a drink with my stepmother, Minji. Minji was complicated. She came into our lives when I was 23. My father had remarried after years of loneliness following my mother's death. First, I wanted to hate her. She was young, too young I thought, barely 30, graceful and elegant, with skin that seemed to glow under any light. She carried herself like someone who had lived through too much yet refused to let the world see her scars. Over time, we developed a fragile kind of friendship. She wasn't the type to act like a mother. She treated me like an equal, like a younger sister. I trusted her. That's what made what happened that night so hard to believe. I turned off the car and sat for a moment, watching raindrops trail down the windshield. Something felt off. The curtains in the living room were drawn shut, even though Minji loved letting light in. The front door was slightly open, just a crack. My heartbeat quickened, though I didn't know why. When I stepped inside, I heard it, laughter. Soft, low, intimate laughter coming from upstairs. My body froze. I don't know how long I stood there before my feet started moving on their own, each step up the staircase echoing louder than the rain outside. My mind was racing with 1,000 explanations, each one worse than the last. I stopped when I reached the door of my father's room. It was half open. The light was dim, filtered through the shadows of the curtains. My hand trembled as I pushed it slightly. And there she was, Minji, her hair loose, her voice a whisper, her hand resting gently on the chest of a man who wasn't my father. He wasn't a stranger either. I knew him. His name was June. He used to be my friend. I gasped before I could stop myself. Both their heads turned at once. Her eyes widened in horror. His face went pale. For a second, no one said anything. The air felt too thick to breathe. Then Minji stood up, trying to cover herself, her voice trembling. "This isn't what it looks like," she said. That ridiculous sentence people always use when there's no escape. I wanted to scream, to shout, to throw something, but I couldn't. My whole body went numb. "How long?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. "How long has this been happening?" She opened her mouth but said nothing. The silence answered for her. I turned and ran out of the room, down the stairs, through the rain, barefoot, crying, not caring who saw me. I drove without knowing where I was going. The road blurred. My hands were shaking so badly that I had to pull over by the river. The water looked black under the storm, just like my thoughts. June had been the one person I trusted outside my family. He knew how broken my home was, how hard it was to accept Minji, how much I tried to make things work. And yet he did this. With her. I cried until I couldn't anymore. The rain stopped at some point, but the storm inside me kept growing. For days I didn't go home. I stayed at a friend's apartment, ignoring Minji's calls and messages. My father was still away, in Busan for work, and I couldn't bear the thought of him coming back to that house, still blind to the truth. I debated whether to tell him or not. He adored her. She was his second chance at happiness. Could I be the one to destroy that? But the image of her with June haunted me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her hand on his face, her lips trembling with the same tenderness she used to show my father. It made me sick. 3 days later, I finally returned home. The air inside was heavy, filled with the scent of her perfume and something else, guilt maybe. She was sitting at the kitchen table, her eyes swollen from crying. When she saw me, she stood quickly. "Please," she said, "we need to talk." I wanted to walk past her, but something in her voice stopped me. She looked smaller somehow, fragile. Not the graceful woman I knew. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. "It started after one of your father's trips. I was lonely. He was kind to me. It was a mistake." I laughed bitterly. "A mistake that happened in his bed?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. "You don't understand, Hannah. I was falling apart. Your father doesn't see me anymore. I tried to leave him, but what? You didn't want to lose the comfort of this house? The safety of being his wife? She flinched at my words. No, I didn't want to destroy him. Or you. Her voice cracked on that last word. I should have hated her, but I didn't. Not completely. I saw something real in her, shame, regret, maybe even love. But it didn't change the fact that everything I believed in had shattered. I need time, I said. And I don't know what to tell my father. She nodded silently, tears dripping onto the table. I'll tell him, she whispered. I'll take the blame. Just don't hate me. But how could I not? Days passed like ghosts. I went to work, came home, and avoided her. She tried to act normal, cooking dinner, leaving notes, pretending things could be repaired. But at night, I heard her crying in her room. Sometimes I wanted to comfort her, which only made me hate myself more. When my father finally returned, I thought everything would come crashing down. But Minji didn't tell him. She smiled, hugged him, acted like nothing had happened. And I stayed silent too. Watching them laugh over dinner made me sick, but I couldn't bring myself to destroy his happiness. Maybe I was a coward. Maybe I wanted to believe that pretending could make it all disappear. Until one night my father noticed something. A photo on Minji's phone. A reflection. A man's hand on her shoulder, not his. I saw his expression freeze, the way his eyes darkened. He didn't say a word, but that night I heard them arguing. The kind of argument that breaks walls. I closed my door and tried not to listen, but every word cut through the silence. Who is he, Minji? My father shouted. She didn't answer. Is it June? The sound of glass shattering followed. Then silence. When I stepped out, my father was gone. The front door was open and Minji was on the floor sobbing. He knows, she whispered. He saw the photo. The next morning, my father left for Busan again. He didn't speak to either of us before he left. I knew that meant something inside him had broken too. Minji stopped eating. She barely left her room. I wanted to hate her, but watching her like that, empty, pale, lost, made something twist inside me. I didn't know whether to pity her or despise her. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, I found her standing by the balcony, staring at the horizon. She looked like she could dissolve into the air. Hannah, she said softly, do you think people can be forgiven? I didn't answer. She smiled faintly. I wish I could go back. To the day I met him. To stop myself. Her eyes were glassy, distant. I didn't realize what she meant until it was too late. That night, I heard the sound of the balcony door sliding open again. Then silence. When I ran upstairs, the wind hit me first, cold and sharp. The balcony was empty except for her shawl, fluttering in the air. And below, my heart stopped. I don't remember screaming, but the neighbors told me later that they heard it. A desperate, broken sound that echoed through the entire street. I ran down the stairs, my hands trembling so hard that I could barely grab the door handle. The air outside felt heavy, the kind that presses against your chest and steals your breath. Minji lay there on the grass, her body twisted in a way no body should ever be. Her eyes were open, but they weren't seeing anything anymore. The rain began again, slow and cruel, washing away the tears from her face, or maybe mine. I knelt beside her, shaking, whispering her name over and over, as if she could still hear me. But the silence answered louder than any scream could. The police came. The ambulance. The flashing lights turned our peaceful home into a nightmare. I stood there like a ghost while they covered her body. One of the officers asked if she had said anything before it happened. I couldn't answer. All I could think of was her voice on the balcony. Do you think people can be forgiven? My father came back the next morning. When he saw the tape around the house, he froze. I ran to him, but he didn't hug me. He just looked at me with empty eyes, as if he'd aged 20 years overnight. What happened? He whispered. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. The police explained. He didn't react. He just stood there until they took her body away. The days that followed felt like a dream or a punishment. People came and went, whispering condolences, avoiding my father's gaze. The house that once smelled of warm food and perfume now carried only the scent of rain and regret. I thought my father would blame me. After all, I'd known about the affair and said nothing. But he didn't say a single word to me. He barely spoke at all. He would sit in the living room for hours, staring at the empty chair where Minji used to sit. Sometimes I heard him whisper her name softly, like a prayer he knew would never be answered. And I couldn't bear the guilt, not just for keeping her secret, but for the anger I felt even after she was gone. How could I still resent someone who had already paid the ultimate price for her mistakes? One evening I went through her room. Everything was still in place. Her scarves, her perfume, the books she loved. On her nightstand, I found a small letter folded neatly under a photograph. The photo was of me and her, taken at a cafe last year. We were laughing. For a moment, I couldn't remember what we were laughing about. The letter was addressed to me. My hand shook as I opened it. Hannah, I know you'll never forgive me, but I hope someday you'll understand. I was lost long before I met your father. I wanted to feel alive again, and I made the worst mistake a person can make. I confused comfort with love. You reminded me of who I used to be. Strong. Honest. I wanted to protect you even from myself, but I failed. Please don't let my weakness become your shadow. Love. Don't carry my sins as your own. I'm sorry. Minji. I dropped the letter and cried until my throat burned. For the first time since she died, I didn't feel anger, only a deep hollow ache that words could never fill. After the funeral, my father disappeared for a few days. When he returned, he looked fragile, broken in a way I'd never seen before. He didn't blame her. He didn't blame me. He just said one thing. She wasn't evil, Hannah. She was just human. That sentence stayed with me. Months passed, but the house never felt the same. The light seemed colder, the walls quieter. I tried to go back to work, to live, but I kept hearing her voice, that soft, trembling tone that carried so much sorrow. Every time it rained, I felt like she was still there, watching the world she couldn't face anymore. One afternoon, while cleaning her room, I found a small box hidden under her bed. Inside was a silver necklace, a simple pendant shaped like a crescent moon, and a note in Korean. For Hannah. When you're ready. I put it on. The metal felt cold against my skin, but somehow comforting. Slowly I began to forgive. Not just her, but myself. It wasn't easy. Some nights I still woke up from nightmares, seeing her on that balcony, hearing her last question echoing in my mind. But I learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about surviving the weight of what we can't change. My father eventually moved away. The house was too full of memories. He told me he wanted to start over, maybe near the sea. I stayed behind for a while, unable to leave the ghosts we'd both created. One rainy evening, I sat on the same balcony where everything ended. The sky was heavy, the air smelled of wet earth and old sorrow. I closed my eyes and let the rain touch my face. For a brief moment, I imagined she was there beside me again, smiling faintly, her voice soft as the wind. I forgive you, I whispered, and I hope wherever you are you found peace. When I opened my eyes, the clouds began to part. The rain slowed. A sliver of sunlight broke through, turning the wet streets golden. It felt like the world was finally breathing again. I don't know if I believe in signs, but that light, that fleeting warmth made me think of her. Not the woman who betrayed my father, not the one who fell, but the woman who once sat beside me at a cafe, laughing about nothing, trying to remember how to live. And maybe that's the version I'll choose to remember. Because sometimes love doesn't die, it just gets lost in the storm. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Maybe you've also lost someone, not to death but to choices, to silence, to the things we wish we could undo. If you did, I hope my words reminded you that pain doesn't have to be permanent, that even broken hearts can still find meaning in what remains. Please, share your own story in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear it too. And if this touched you, don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes, the darkest stories are the ones that bring us closer to the light.